Connie was my choir mistress as a child. But she didn't do a very good job.
Of last Sunday's riot, we understand it's created quite a lot of tension and people have all kinds of views about it. But I think as a community, we should come together to show our solidarity and our goodwill. So that's why we came down here to distribute flowers to everyone, regardless of ethnicity, nationality, whether you're a foreign worker or you're a Singaporean. So I would like to invite Miss Connie Singham. Connie Singham is she's a respected women's rights activist, and she was past president of AWARE. To say a few words.
No, I just thought that we should come here because it's the first week of the incident, and in our culture we do mark the first week. And my concern and our concern that we share is that that we bring in so many people, but we don't give them enough respect. And this is a way of showing that it's a symbolic gesture that we should be showing respect to people who come to help us live the good life, you know, and they're not part of the good life. And I think we as citizens have failed in our duty of care to the foreign workers who we in fact invite to come to Singapore. So perhaps this incident will make us all think and reflect about our responsibilities and our values. Thank you.
And I also think that what this riot has done also is brought up a lot of questions in relation to how we treat migrant workers. It is left without a doubt that many migrant workers here are exploited and they are abused. And in fact, the Prime Minister this morning said that we need to speed up the construction of dormitories. Well, we've been talking about constructing more dormitories for a very long time now. And I noticed that it always takes some kind of a crisis to happen before the government says that it wants to build dormitories. The first incident was the Serangoon Gardens dormitory debate. Back then they said, oh, we need to build more dorms. So 3-4 years later, this riot has happened, and now the government is still saying the same thing. So I think as citizens, as migrant workers, as people living in Singapore, we have the right to ask what are they doing in terms of providing sufficient infrastructure for the migrant workers that we bring into it, who work for us. And many migrant workers live in deplorable living conditions. As someone who has worked with migrant workers in the past 9 years, I have seen dormitories where beds are stacked, triple-decker beds, and sometimes when I walk around, I have to walk around these dorms like a crab, and they're always infested with bed bugs, with pests, and very little seems to be being done to deal with this situation. And there are a lot of problems. The exploitation also goes beyond just living conditions. Many workers are not paid, or they're not paid properly according to statutory standards, or when they are injured at work, employers don't take care of them, and they're also very vulnerable to being dismissed. And this is very frightening for many migrant workers because they incur huge recruitment debts when they come to Singapore to work. So when permits are cancelled, they can be sent back, and it's almost like financial suicide for them. So when our Minister Tan Chuan Jin says that there are only 3,000 complaints for this year, so it shows that migrant workers don't have any significant difficulties. And I think that's where he is mistaken, because many migrant workers choose not to make complaints because they are afraid of losing their jobs. They are afraid that their employers might retaliate against them. They are afraid that they may not be able to come back to Singapore to work. So I think this is a great opportunity for the government to review its immigration policies, to review its labour policies, so that migrant workers can be treated with respect, with dignity and with equality.
Are there any concerns on the part of civil activists that this may have?
We can't speak, sorry, I'll just quickly jump in. We can't speak for all civil activists, certainly. And I wouldn't go so far as to say that they would prejudice the committee of inquiry or the trial, but it is certainly not helpful for the four ministers, including the Prime Minister, to have prejudged the situation as being one of a drunken, lawless mob without the investigations having completed or the committee of inquiry having even begun its deliberations. Unfortunately, I would say personally that this goes very dangerously close to contempt of court by commenting on a matter that's before the court. And I would urge the Cabinet to desist from making any further statements, to allow the committee as well as the trials to take their course.
Can you tell us more about how you'll be contributing to the COI? You have helping?
Yes, actually the COI has offered, requested for people to come up to give their views and to be engaged in the process. So myself and a few other volunteers who are involved in this group called Workfairs, and what we plan to meet them, we'd like to request to meet them so that we can engage in the process and ensure that a rights-based perspective is also included in their deliberations.
It would also be helpful to say that if anyone should be heard by the committee, it should be people like Mr. Jonathan Wem and other members of the migrant worker community, because they have been working on these issues for the last 10 years. So if anyone has an expert perspective, then it would be them. So we would expect that the committee would be inviting these experts to come and give evidence.
So you have volunteers?
We will be. We will send them representations.
Are there any can you maybe update us on any efforts on your part to assist those arrested? If there's any efforts, any updates?
None as yet. We are looking into donations for the families of those affected. But of course they are arrested and they are under remand. So we are not able to provide any direct assistance to the accused themselves.
Yeah, but if any of the family of the accused would like to approach us for assistance, we would gladly take it up.